The latest National Assessment of Educational Progress report reveals a stark reality. American students' reading skills have plummeted to historic lows. This decline, unprecedented in the exam's 30-year history, paints a grim picture of the state of education in the United States. The findings serve as a wake-up call, demanding immediate attention and action from educators, policymakers, and parents alike. The future of the nation hinges on its ability to equip its youth with fundamental literacy skills. The significance of these results cannot be overstated. Reading proficiency is not merely an academic pursuit, it is the cornerstone of success in all aspects of life. From navigating daily tasks to engaging in informed civic discourse, reading comprehension is paramount. The declining scores are a clear indication that the American education system is failing to equip its students with this essential skill. These findings are not just numbers on a page, they represent real children facing real challenges. The inability to comprehend text at grade level has far-reaching consequences, impacting students' self-esteem, academic progress, and future prospects. Ignoring this crisis is not an option. The COVID-19 pandemic has left an undeniable mark on education. School closures have had a devastating impact on student learning, especially in reading. The disruption to traditional instruction has resulted in significant learning loss. 33% of 8th graders are reading below basic levels. 4th graders haven't fared much better, with 40% reading below basic levels. The pandemic exacerbated existing inequalities in education. Students from low-income families, students of color, and students with disabilities faced greater challenges. This widening achievement gap demands targeted interventions and support. The pandemic has exacerbated existing inequalities in education, disproportionately impacting low-income families, students of color, and students with disabilities. These students often lack access to essential resources like reliable internet and technology. As a result, they are falling further behind their peers, widening the achievement gap. Addressing this requires targeted interventions and increased funding for disadvantaged schools. Failure to act will have far-reaching consequences for the nation. Section 4. A call to action. Experts urge for immediate intervention. The gravity of the situation has not gone unnoticed. Educators, researchers, and policymakers are sounding the alarm, calling for immediate and decisive action to address the crisis in reading education. They emphasize the need for evidence-based interventions, increased funding for early literacy programs, and a renewed focus on teacher training and development. Experts stress the importance of early intervention, recognizing that the earlier a child's reading difficulties are addressed, the greater the likelihood of success. This requires a multifaceted approach that includes early screening for reading difficulties, targeted interventions for struggling readers, and professional development for teachers to enhance their skills in teaching reading. Furthermore, there is a growing consensus that addressing the digital divide is crucial for ensuring educational equity. This means ensuring that all students have access to reliable internet devices and digital literacy skills, regardless of their socioeconomic background. The call to action is clear. The time for complacency is over. Addressing this crisis requires a collective effort, one that prioritizes the needs of our children and recognizes that their future is inextricably linked to our own. Section 5. Funding uncertainty. Political challenges hinder progress. Adding to the urgency of the situation is the current political climate, which threatens to further hinder progress in addressing the reading crisis. The recent freeze on some federal funding for education has sent shockwaves through the education system, leaving schools and districts grappling with uncertainty and the prospect of budget cuts. This funding uncertainty comes at a time when schools are already struggling to cope with the fallout from the pandemic. The need for additional resources to address learning loss, provide mental health support, and implement evidence-based interventions is greater than ever. Yet, the political will to provide these resources appears to be waning. The politicization of education is a dangerous trend that threatens to undermine the very foundation of our democracy. Education should be a nonpartisan issue, one that unites us in our commitment to providing all children with the opportunity to succeed. It is imperative that policymakers set aside partisan differences and prioritize the needs of our children. Adequate funding for education is not an expense. It is an investment in our collective future. Failure to make this investment will have far-reaching consequences, impacting not only the lives of individual students, but also the economic and social well-being of the nation as a whole.